Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda, and there is so much going on. I have been thinking about doing a podcast that is only about good news, just because, there's so much going on for us internally and externally, lots of shifts, lots of changes, lots of growth. But in the midst of all of this, I have worked with some other people to create a beautiful platform for all of us to enjoy. It is called The Reiki Class. So if you go to thereikiclass.com, there you will find access to teachers and practitioners that you can work with and also whom you can learn from. So there's lots of great information there. There are upcoming classes and events both online and in person. There are also resources. There are free resources available to you on the site. And there is an accompanying podcast called Awakening Airwaves. And on Awakening Airwaves, there are 8 different shows. So every Wednesday and Friday, you get a new episode with different teachers and practitioners talking about a variety of topics from Reiki to crystals, sound healing, the Akashic records, working in the quantum field, astrology, what it's like being a practitioner and applying this work in our daily lives. So, if you want to tune into Awakening Airwaves, of course, we would appreciate it. Anytime these kinds of things are created by anyone who is podcasting, anyone who has created a space of resource for all of us, for the community, it is greatly appreciated that you all follow. Just because, there is a lot of effort that goes into sharing all of this work. And so you can go to thereikiclass.com and again, check out all of the teachers, practitioners, follow them on their social media, join them in some of their classes and events. You can also go to Awakening Airwaves and follow it on your favorite podcast platform. Wherever you listen to Reiki Radio, you can find Awakening Airwaves. So be sure to subscribe and also go to YouTube and look up Awakening Airwaves there. Please follow the YouTube channel. Because with YouTube, we have to have a certain number of subscribers before we can do other types of content there. So we would really appreciate the follows, as well as while you're there, follow Reiki Radio on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and that's where you can actually watch the interviews that I conduct for Reiki Radio. And then finally, the Reiki class also has a YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, look at the Reiki class, subscribe there. And as that channel builds, we are going to post more information there to support you with your practice as well. Some tips, some guided instruction, all kinds of things. So I hope that along with Reiki Radio, all of this will continue to support you in your journey. So I think that is all for now. Oh, actually, no, this weekend, I have an upcoming free Oracle class called the Oracle Codex. I'm offering it twice. I'm offering it this weekend and the following weekend. And it is a prelude to Oracle School, which opens in August. But to celebrate the opening of Oracle School, there's also a special offer for my Oracle deck, which I've never offered this before. And also a special code you can use to get a discount on Oracle School. So if you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, be sure you do so you can get access to sign up for the free class. You can also register for Oracle School if you would like to join me there, but you can also get the code to get a discount on the Oracle deck as well as the Oracle School. So go to theenergeticalchemist.com and sign up for my newsletter called Alchemical News. And I think that is all that is coming up, my loves. I have been doing interviews throughout the month of July for the Reiki Rays Global Annual Reiki Summit, which most of you are familiar with. It usually comes out in the fall. but we are doing the interviews now. So I have been very busy with that on top of, the launching of the Reiki class platform and the Awakening Airwaves podcasts. So I say all that to say there's so much going to be provided again to just support us all in this beautiful, beautiful work. And I'm so thankful to be a part of it and to be able to share with you in any capacity. So also thank you for being here with me on Reiki Radio. So, speaking of sharing and how we all get to learn through these beautiful exchanges, today you will meet a wonderful practitioner named Amelia Vogler. And Amelia, her work is very interesting. I think a lot of you will find what she shares quite fascinating. She is an integrative health coach and she trained at Duke University with a master's from North Carolina State University. She is among the few worldwide to earn the distinguished credential of specialist in energy medicine with specific training in energy medicine and surgery. So we do talk quite a bit about this, about how she works with people energetically to prepare for pre-op, how to work with them energetically when they're in surgery and post-op. But she goes into some detail that, again, I think will be fascinating to a lot of you, especially those of you who are practitioners of energy healing, of Reiki, those of you that practice remotely, even hands on. I just think that there was a lot in this conversation that excited me to be able to share with all of you today. So you can learn more about Amelia and her work by going to her website, which is ameliavogler.com. She has upcoming classes, and there are different ways that you can work with her as well. All of the ways to connect with Amelia are down in the show description, including her website. She has a couple, and also how to connect with her on social media. So I hope that you really enjoy this conversation. Don't forget, if you like any of the episodes on Reiki Radio, I really appreciate you sharing, following, reaching out to me on Instagram. My Instagram is at Reiki Radio, and I have been trying to be much more active there. So I really appreciate the communication and knowing what it is that you enjoy from these conversations. And it helps me in knowing who else to have conversations with in the future. So that is it for now. Enjoy the conversation, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, everyone, we are here today with the beautiful Amelia Vogler, and you are an energy medicine specialist and also a surgical consultant. And I'm very excited to hear about your story today because I think your work is very unique and not a lot of people even are aware of the possibility related to what you do. So first, just thank you for taking time to have the conversation today.
Oh, Yolanda, it's so nice to be here. And for your group, hello. Happy to be here with you.
Yes, it's going to be fun. I'm already so curious about your background. So before we get into present day, what
Sure.
you're doing, let's talk a little bit about how you got here. So if you could give us a little background about how you grew up and what sensitivities you started to recognize within yourself.
Okay, super. Great place to start, upon arrival.
Yeah.
And I'll keep us at a really high level so we don't end up 3 hours, just doing the long time story.
Yeah.
But um, I really deeply believe that we pick our parents, we
Yeah.
pick as a soul the environment that's going to grow us the most. And when I came into the world, boom, my environment was my father has a family funeral home that's been in the family 250 years. So, automatically somewhere in that like energetic bloodline was this really deep resonance with, the departed,
Hmm.
whatever that is, and also caring for people. There's a real lineage of compassion and a deep, deep just love of each other, like
Yes.
you, just this deep human gosh, we are so important. This
Yeah.
life is so important. And so there was that side, and then there was my mother's side. They're still married, just had their 49th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
And she had a flower farm. And so what I noticed as a little girl was that I came in with really strong energetic sensitivities. So when I would go to work after school with my dad, when he was finishing up paperwork, sometimes I would get a glimpse of a presence in the corner of a room, or I would roller skate through the funeral home because it was, why not, wide open space. And he'd say, well, don't go in that room. So I'd go in that room, and there would be, a body resting peacefully, and there would be a little purple light hovering above them, or I would hear a sound, and then I would go home, and on the weekends as a little kid, or more like, teenager at this point, we would get in trouble, and mom would say, well, go down to the nursery and you need to fertilize like 250 plants.
Yeah.
So I would be down there with the plants, and some hadn't sprouted yet, but I would see this little energy before the flower would come up. So my early life taught me that I have some gifts in sensing and knowing energy, not just visibly, but sort of this sixth sense knowing. I can hear things, smell things, just the alchemy of all of our sensorial awarenesses, sort of, just mine are pretty turned up. And um, lived life that way until I was told you're too sensitive. And then I shut it down. And I was an engineer for quite a few years, 10 or 12 years. And engineering is really precise. It's very technical, obviously. It's about systems work. So putting these, how do we build a system to a design, which is basically like what our energy is
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah.
So I was in the same language, in the same conversation, just a totally different environment. Got migraine headaches, went to see a healer. Migraine headaches left. I was loving being on her table, and she said, I'm not going to treat you anymore. I want you to go take a class in this. And I was so pissed off, Yolanda, because she was making my life great.
Yes.
I could work, I had a great salary. And then she said, no, you got to do this. And so anyway, fast forward, I took the class. I quit my job, opened a private practice. That was, 14, 15 years ago. And I haven't looked back
Well,
since.
I have to ask you, Amelia, it's very interesting, like hearing about the early part of your childhood, how everything was pointing to this life cycle, right? So
Yeah,
you're having this exposure to literally life blooming with your mother's flower farm. And then on your father's side, seeing, the afterlife,
yeah,
but also recognizing in that space that there's still something that exists, right? This essence of us that still goes beyond the physical body. But then even tying that in with you becoming an engineer and again, thinking about systems. And really, so much of this work is us trying to understand our system, our
totally.
function, and relationship to everything. So once you started learning energy healing, were you making these kinds of connections? Were the experiences you had in the past, were they starting to like make sense in a different kind of way?
Oh, it was incredible.
Yeah.
So the first time that healer or healing practitioner held my feet and started grounding me on her massage table, all of those sensitivities came back.
Mm,
And suddenly I was in the kaleidoscopic world of my heightened sensitivities, but they were so natural and authentic. And it was like, oh, the other thing that I remembered was being a little child in the funeral home, staring at those that were no longer alive. And I would, scratch my head and like, they're so still, there's no light in them.
hmm
And then I would look at us, the living, the alive, and there's light. And I was always curious, always my whole life. What is that light?
Hmm.
It's really important. How do we stay close to it? What's its role? Where does it go? So those were the driving or leading questions that powered my soul as a little kid and continues now, working in an energy system of the soul, which is called the Hara, Hara.
Yes.
It's a unique system. Not a lot of people really work in it. And this is a system that is that. It brings you here. It sustains us. It helps us refer back to our authentic gifts. It helps us remember ourselves, be home in ourselves, be courageous, be funny in our own unique, weird ways and have it be all right in the world. And then it helps us remember how to leave and
Yeah.
go into the birth into light and limitlessness. So it looking back now, it was almost like I now see, honey, you didn't have a choice in this.
Yes.
Like it was written and you followed the yellow road.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny you say. So I've studied traditional Reiki as well, and there's a lot of focus on the Hatha. There's so much focus on this in terms of what we are coming into relationship with and cultivating within ourselves for the the point of our life force energy.
Yeah.
But with this too, like listening to what your experiences were and having this curiosity essentially of like that intelligence, our life force and its function and how it moves or exists in and out of us. Was that something that then you started to hone in on when you were working on people from an energetic stance? So, what I mean to say is, sometimes people come to energy work for, stress, or it could
Mhm.
be a physical ailment, some kind of pain in the body. Were you starting to watch or correspond this working of energy in relationship to all of these different like imbalances that we may have?
Yeah, so super cool question. And I think that if I have to be really honest, and I
Yeah.
am always, I didn't know what I was doing at the
Yeah.
beginning. I was studying healing touch, which is a very clinical type of energy
Right.
medicine. And my mentor, this woman who I was seeing, was a nurse. So what happened is I went back to my engineering job and I was so enamored and enlivened by this work. I used to ask people like, do you have any pain? Have any headaches? What can I work on? And so early in my career in energy medicine, it was very clinical in nature. It was headaches and backaches and preoperative support, post-operative recovery, broken bones, migraines, kind of like in the domain of the body and the physical aspect of our soul embodiment.
Yeah.
And along the way, just between my own evolution and probably what was destined destined in my vibration was, you know, a cornerstone is I'm somebody that knows how to see patterns.
Mm.
I can see them. I just know you tell me your life story and I will reflect what your soul patterns are.
You know?
And that's just the same as what I did in engineering. I would look at the system and figure out, well, what do we need to do to build it and what are all the parts?
Yes.
And then as I developed a more nuanced language in energy medicine, over the last 20 years or so, I've been able to articulate those patterns better. So I think it's sort of like just the natural space holding. You know how, and maybe many of your listeners know this too, maybe they're practitioners, but you're working with somebody who's very visual and suddenly your visual capacities kind of open up.
Right.
You're holding a space from a vibration. So when people come to me, that's the lens through which we vibrate together. And I just kind of hold the space I hold with the story that's come to be living through me.
Yeah. Oh, I have so many questions for you, Amelia. Okay, I'm like try to keep
Okay.
them in order because I don't want to go too far ahead into your story yet. But
Sure.
man, there are so many things. Um, so even I love that you point out having this curiosity at the start because there are a lot of practitioners that they either have that curiosity, which is what was the same for me. I didn't intend to do this, but I was so curious, asking all of my friends, like, hey, can I practice? And then things evolved from there. But some people get very worried about not knowing, not
Oh, yeah.
realizing that the practice is what will really teach you. So, could you talk a little bit about that curiosity and wanting to see what will happen if you allow me just to work on you in your space? How much did that piece teach you, even beyond what you learned in class?
Oh, just absolutely. I mean, you've nailed it in the question, really, because I think that we come into our sessions and what I have seen, and this is maybe not law, but one of the things I notice is the level to which I can surrender fully and trust fully in the mystery and the magic and the capacity for miracle and the rearrangement under the intention of highest and best.
Yes.
If I can get out of the way, that's where miracle and magic happens. And because I am a curious person, and also maybe because my nature is like I really deeply connect to awe and I love people.
Yes.
So I think this was around the dinner table at night as a child when we would talk about who died today and we would honor the life of this person. When I sit with someone, it is a full honoring of their experience. And it's like maybe somewhere in my inner dialogue is,
Mhm.
honey, you don't know a damn thing about their life.
Right.
Like, who am I to decide when I reflect a pattern? And there's sort of an ethical thing about being an intuitive. It's like, I can't, I don't want to tell you your truth, but I'm going to offer what I see and dialogue with you in a way that you can choose what's true for you. So there's like first that like release and surrender, this deep honoring of the life, the light, the story, the capacity, the beauty. And then there's this really tender offering of, and what does that mean to you? Or what, how
Yeah.
is this for you? Like you take it now. You
Yes.
take it now.
Oh,
And
that's
let
so
me
good.
celebrate that. Like I want to celebrate whatever it is that comes through. And so that's kind of the recipe for the space that I hold.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely beautiful. And I'm so glad you say it this way because I think part of the hesitation with a lot of people, at least at the start of their practice, is this pressure on themselves of needing to know, needing to
Yeah.
have the answers. And with what you say, again, it's like that beautiful spaciousness of being curious, being the observer, not going in thinking you have to know, but rather just
Oh,
acknowledging what is being presented and not attaching to it. And I love
exactly.
you talk so much about the compassion that also helps us not to go into this like judgment and worry
Yeah.
when we're holding space, but also giving people that space to acknowledge for themselves what they hold and not
Yes.
judge themselves about it.
Totally. And
Right.
we come in love.
Hmm.
We come in love.
Yeah.
And that love, it creates a bridge heart to heart. We know that the heart is the strongest energetic organ, that
Yes.
it drives the field in some ways. The vibration helps set the tonality of our vibration. And I think that when you come, any of us, when we come into a non-judgmental, love-filled container, it's safe
Right.
enough to heal. It's
Yes.
safe enough for them to to stop thinking about the outcome because
Mhm.
we all on some level, and this gets interesting in surgery because we work with outcome and intention differently there, but who am I to tell you what the outcome of your healing is to be? And if you come in with a shoulder ache, I'm coming with highest good.
Mhm.
And um, I just think that's really, really fascinating.
Yes. You know, again, in Reiki, it's like this thing of acknowledging the divine intelligence that exists within everyone. So you're holding that space of seeing them in their highest potential
Yeah.
instead of seeing like, oh, what's wrong with you, but more so
Yeah.
acknowledging, yeah. But I have to ask you this too,
Sure.
because one, I want to say, Amelia, it's beautiful the imagery of the type of space, because I don't think a lot of times people consider how much our own energy and frequency feeds into the environment, the type of environment you're creating
Yeah.
for the healing to happen. But I have to ask you too about the uniqueness and our energy. So, like when we say, we all have life force and we're all of this one divine intelligence, but we also have these imprints of our soul level uniqueness, just like you mentioned, choosing the perfect family for you and all of these sorts of things. Could you talk a little bit about that? It's coming up in the way of, because a lot of people are holding themselves to other people's story and mission. Or, we have a lot of projections on people telling us who we should be, how
Yeah.
we should be. And there's not this acknowledgement of our unique soul resonance. So, could you just give a little insight into what you may see or notice about these little nuances that make us unique?
Oh, this is such a beautiful question. I mean, there's a part of me that's just almost crying and tearing
Oh,
up because it is when I look at us,
yes.
anybody, everybody, it doesn't matter, old, young, purple, yellow,
Yeah.
crawling in a wheelchair, depressed, bipolar,
Yeah.
whatever it is that we are learning from in our life, that are kind of these etheric clothes that we wear. When I look at you, I see this radiance and the recipe that makes you up at this soul level.
Yeah.
And it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning when we feel home enough to just go out there and be our weird, wild, funny, free, vulnerable, passionate selves. It That's it. Like that's the unique soul
Yeah.
of each of us. And all of us are we are, and this is part of the horror work. It's about how we got here. What's the organization of the energy? What are the codes, our colors, our tones, our in it's the ones and the zeros, like that Matrix
Right, right.
movie.
Yeah.
you know, we are organized differently based on our past lives and our soul mission in this lifetime. And all of those things come together, which creates our unique template.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of healers like to reference sort of the gloom and doom of past life, like, oh God, I've got this past life healing to do. But you also have rivers and rivers of history of resources.
Yes.
And you also have, energetic genealogies of rivers of inheritances that support you. Like we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. Yes, there are things to learn, but there are also just an incredible reference library of that which can support us. And I really am interested in the power of resourcing as much as I am looking at what people call blocks or, let's call them opportunities.
Right.
I'm not a very gloom and doom sort of practitioner.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a beautiful way to describe it. I'm sure a lot of light bulbs are going off for people. And I know we have to shift into what you do now because this is so incredible. And I guess as a leading towards that, I would love to know what you think about learning through healing rather
mm,
than seeing it as a punishment. Because a lot of times when we
yeah,
have some kind of ailment, people do. Like we may look at it as like, oh no, like why me? What happened? Something we look at it as a punishment, even unconsciously. So could you talk a little bit about, what you may have seen where people are actually learning through this discomfort or learning through whatever it may be?
Yeah, I love this conversation, Yolanda. So I think one of the ways I could preface or kind of support or ground this piece is that I would like to invite your audience to like imagine all of history here in the United States or in your own country if you're listening from afar.
Yeah.
And you just zoom out really far and you look at your nation's history and you see how technology has shifted the landscape. You see how, the rivers of politics and the river of evolution through all of these different institutions that hold us. And you begin to see that there is an undercurrent of evolution that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, another verb that we can use for healing is evolution.
Mm.
And so we are part of this great giving and receiving that's constantly moving in the direction of how to be more whole.
Yeah.
And right now we're in the United States, we're not doing a great job at this understatement.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're revisiting old soul patterns of the country that need and are being revisited, reworked, reorganized. And, we could talk at length about the nature of the soul and the cycling that happens. And there's a whole formulaic spiral that happens as we move through different areas of our life. And so, what I would share to people who are kind of looking at their life going, oh, this sucks,
Yeah.
this thing. And I would say, yeah, it does. It sucks. Absolutely. If it sucks, it sucks.
Yeah.
Let's suffer it. Let's feel it. And let's get curious about what resources are needed to begin to rearrange the template so that you can access more of yourself, so that you can be curious too about, well, what if I, and this is a what if I energetically, like, what if the energy moves in this direction? What if I remember my grandmother's messages that are living inside my hand as I look and see her hand in my hand? And so I think, again, it's a nod to the resources. Like, yeah, this is hard, but you can do hard things.
Yeah.
And there's this upswell of a natural intelligence called evolution that's rivering us through. Like, time continues. We're in the river.
Yeah.
This isn't going to stay the same. So let's figure out what you need to be safe enough to heal.
I love that you say and like emphasis on that, because a lot of times when we are going through whatever it is we're going through, a lot of people have, the mental blinders on and they can't see beyond that. So I love that you emphasize, yes, there are things that may be hard, and that is true.
Absolutely.
And you also have access to this other, technology of our soul, we could say,
Totally.
that can support us through whatever this may be, but it also reveals so much to us. And you make me think of how a lot of people come into this work because of going through something hard. It's often a catalyst for us
Yeah.
where we've hit a bottom or we've hit a plateau and we don't know that there's any other option available. And this desperation comes that causes us to kind of take those mental blinders off and say, what am I not seeing? So I love the way that you describe this, Amelia. I want to ask though, because time flies,
Oh, it's so
about
cool.
the work that you do now. So you were this engineer you got into energy healing and now your mind is expanding. Could you tell us a bit about what you do now and how you became a surgical consultant? And yeah, how does this?
Yeah. So, the river just flows.
Yes.
The river just flows. And I think there were sort of three rivers that came together around my surgical consultancy. It's, you know, knowing the soul from childhood,
Hmm.
like being really comfortable at the level of soul. Because when we're anesthetized or under anesthesia,
Hmm.
our soul is really the only thing present.
Yeah.
And so the body is sort of asleep in this very controlled slumber, but the soul is still very present. So, I speak the language of soul. That's been my language along the way. So that kind of like ticked a box that I didn't know was being ticked.
Yeah.
And then River 2 was that I started energy medicine in this very clinical sort of perspective. So with healing touch, my mentor being 48 years or something like that in nursing, OR, surgical nursing, oncology nursing. I my beginning in energy work, I worked with a lot of oncology patients,
Hmm.
and so many of them would need to have a surgery. So it wasn't just the medications and the chemotherapies and the radiations, but it was also, well, and now let's go get these tumors, let's do the surgery. So early on in my career, this was sort of the landscape of my practice ground.
Yeah.
And there was that river. And then I think most importantly, there was, we have bodhisattvas,
Hmm.
little Buddhas that come
Yeah.
to us. There was someone in my life who has a body dysmorphia, which is, I don't like to say an illness. But this is up underneath the idea that someone, when they look at themselves, they just really don't see themselves as they are.
Right.
And this particular person did a lot of elective surgeries to try to change. I mean, it's really sad and tragic, but I worked with them through those surgeries because they were close to me.
Yeah.
And that was before, way before now.
Yeah.
So I also had this river of experience where I got to understand with my mentor, who was the nurse, hey, when I smelled this medicine, it smelled like that. Oh, that's this medicine. Oh, well, when I felt this is what it was. So I had this incredible, like, alchemical education that was
Yes.
happening, and I didn't even know that this was happening. I just rode the river. I've got, like,
Yeah.
the raft and my helmets on, like
Yep.
just trying to get down it safely. And along the way, I think my engineering mind being so precise, naturally, I just attracted client cases that were very complicated.
Hmm.
And because I can sniff patterns out, we do soul work at the beginning. We want to know what are the patterns that are contributing to this. But surgery is scary. Being under anesthesia is terrifying. Your soul is out there. And it's like, wait a minute, I know how to hold that. Let's see what that's like. That's what I did with that person.
Yeah.
And so it was just very natural.
Yeah. Well, again, you and I could talk all day, and I'm sure everyone listening wouldn't mind because this is very interesting. But I want to highlight this. It's beautiful the way that you're bringing up the way life experience itself is often feeding into what we may feel like is a greater purpose. And I want to say that because sometimes people come into this work and they feel like their past may have been a waste of time, or they have this feeling of like, oh, why didn't I know this before? But really, if we zoom out and
Yeah.
see, how these different aspects of what we've gone through were all preparing us and feeding into even what it is we're learning or experiencing present time. And then you highlighted again how important our practice is.
Yeah.
Like you have to practice, and that becomes a teacher, and the energy will start to teach you
Yeah.
the resonance of everyone's different unique soul patterns will start to teach you. But you also remind me of I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she was a teacher of mine. She passed away a few years ago. Her name was Raven Keys, and she was a Reiki teacher, practitioner, but she volunteered and did a lot of Reiki for first responders right after 9/11. She lived in New York. And she also, in her story, was working with someone who was going through cancer. And somehow, because, you know, the way things work,
Yeah.
that person had a doctor who was willing to allow Raven, as a Reiki practitioner, to be in the OR.
Yeah.
And so then she became very passionate about working with people post pre-op and fighting really hard to show why it was beneficial to have energy practitioners in that space. But she also always spoke about it, about like the nurses and the doctors were dealing with the physical,
Yeah.
and the presence of the energy practitioners dealing with the energetics of what is going on with everyone, you know, soul level, the energy of the room, the energy of the environment,
Exactly.
all of these different things. So, gosh, that makes me want to cry thinking of her. She was so, so passionate about this. But could you talk about your experience in this
Yeah.
and tell a little bit about what you've had the opportunity to do in this arena? Like, have you been in the OR and these sorts of things?
So my training it was like 2016, 2017. I actually found a teacher who she's now since on the other side too. So we get to give gratitude to
Yes.
our teachers. I'm sure they're here. Um, but that training actually included how to be in the OR, how to
Yes.
scrub in, where to stand, how to deal with the machines, work with the machines, rather not deal. But
Yes.
they're really loud. So for me, they're very distracting. Um, and so that was my formal training, was actually how to navigate being in the OR as an energy person. And people are curious, like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Well, we have a patient bill of rights in the hospital. And in that patient bill of rights, there is spiritual support. So if there is time, I always have my clients go through with their surgeon and they say, in my patient bill of rights, here it is. I would like to have spiritual support with me.
Hmm.
And my nature, Yolanda, being so sensitive, is I never went into the OR with my clients, but I do go to the hospital with them. So I'm going to pause us there because this work actually starts weeks before
Yes.
the surgical process. Once scheduled, or even people thinking about having a surgery will contact me and we will do a series of sessions to get clear about the intention, to look at the past life patterns, the soul patterns, what could be contributing to whatever this is, that
Yes.
whatever the construction of the body is right now, whatever needs to be shifted. What's the environment? Because environment is, epigenetic wise or just energetically, like the environment matters. So
Hmm.
we could go straight into the OR, do the work, but if we're not working with the patterns that are surrounding that illness or that deficit in a system, in an organ, or like a weakness in a bone or a tissue, then we're not doing the holistic job. We're not really working in
Yeah.
holism for that person. And so remember, I'm like a lover of all people. So it's like, well, we want to see what the big story is. So
Right.
there's a lot that goes into the front end of the surgery to help create the right environment. I also study the surgery. So I watch it on YouTube. I go research the surgeons. I go look up the parts if
Yeah.
it's an orthopedic, I know what they are going to be doing cut by cut.
Mm.
Knowing also it does shift and change once we get in there, but
Yeah.
at least I know what I'm tracking and I have a sense and I can feel it. Um, so I'm kind of getting deep into the process. Are we good with that? You
Yes,
come
yes,
okay.
yes,
All
yes.
right, kind of derailed us down the river,
No, this
but
is great.
it is interesting. And then I'll tell you what I'll answer what you really asked about what we see. But so in that process of def- figuring out what the steps are from the soul level, what are the needs there? What are our specific intentions
Hmm.
around those? And we will do soul healing. We will create an environment so that the body can let go, release what's not needed. Remember that in light, we are whole. So there's not like an absence in light, there's an evolution in our light where our light records everything. So if you need to go remember who you were before the surgery, it's there.
Right.
But you're also this new this new alchemical template of yourself. So we get really clear about all of the intentions all the way through the surgery. I just did one Tuesday. We had 27 intentions. Every single one has come true. Every single one. 100% cancer free, clear biopsies, effortless pain management, hungry, thirsty after waking up from anesthesia. My client was eating chips when I met her in the PACU, you know?
Yeah.
So, but during surgery, I wake up 2 hours before you need to be there at the hospital. I matrix the whole team. Energy is communication. It's energy, it's information that moves.
Mm.
So I want to matrix any medication you're going to take, anybody that touches you. I want to clear the OR. I want to bring any robot or microsurgical device, magnification, whatever is going to be in there with you.
Yeah.
When you walk in that hospital, it's going to know you. It's already going to know you. And it's going to know what it's going to do. And so then we go on after the surgery, do some other stuff. But finally, whew, to your question, what
No,
do we
this is good. This is really
what,
good.
what do we see? We see that I hear things like this, like I supported someone through a very complicated back surgery, which required a lot of delicate, precise attention to the nerve pathways. The
Hmm.
surgeon said later, it was like the nerves moved themselves out of the way. It was like the tissues knew what I was going to do. Guess what? It's because they did.
Yeah.
And I've heard, I've seen incredible. I don't think I've ever had a non perfectly successful surgery, which is not by any means, this is not my ego talking. This is the skill of my client who has deep capacity to heal. This is under the presence of very, very powerful and smart, talented surgeons, wonderful nursing teams, excellent anesthesiologists. So I'm not taking credit for somebody's
Yeah.
healing. This is just part of the ingredients, but I think it's really foundational and really important. And I have a very strong no riffraff policy. Like, so part of that early morning clearing is to get any riffraff out of that OR.
Yes.
No
Cool.
riffraff.
I have two questions for you. So, okay. I'm sorry. I just don't want to forget. I have to jot it down really quickly. So I love that you're pointing to us in our from a holistic lens, right? And that's why it's very exciting that now there are a lot of hospitals that have energy healers as an option for people
Yeah.
who want, even if it's just to support pain management. Now, energy healing is often offered in hospice care. All of these
Mhm.
different ways, we're seeing this integration starting to happen. And again, you're reminding me so much of what you're saying of Raven. I'll have to tell you later
I
which
love that.
some of her books, but I love that it really points to as well understanding that what we're holding in consciousness and how could be such a huge piece of the puzzle around why we're even holding on to whatever this is, whatever this
Absolutely.
imbalance may be, but that it's all malleable. Like we can
Yeah.
have this understanding, and the energy, the consciousness around it can shift to support the healing then that is going to happen on a physical level, and just how important recognizing this interconnectedness of our entire system really is. Amelia, you have me so excited because what you're sharing and what you're saying is, I think, what a lot of people are trying to articulate or really work out in their minds about the necessity of this partnership between, the traditional and the non-traditional, or the metaphysical and the, you know, lens of Western medicine, these sorts of things.
Yeah.
And the way you're talking about it, I think, just paints such a beautiful picture. But I have to ask you this too. There are some people, I've encountered this quite a bit, where perhaps there's someone in their life who is the one that is going through the difficulty.
Mhm.
And that person wants nothing to do with this work. Like they don't want to hear it. They don't want to know it.
Sure.
And then the person who may believe in this is just so stressed out because they see the possibility and potential. And so then there's this whole,
It's hard.
yeah, and there can be a lot of then I want to say confusion within that field of healing, because you have one person that really wants to project
Yeah.
something on that person, and that person is like, absolutely not. So I just wanted to ask you this. Do you have anything you can say to help, the people that may be worried about a loved one who just doesn't necessarily have an interest in this, and the potential that, again, we all are working our healing out differently?
Totally.
Yeah. Could you?
Oh, I'd love to speak to that. It's a really powerful invitation. And I think that, I bump into this too
Yes.
with people that I love.
Hmm.
Recently my father went through some really, really hard healings in his own body. And, I know some stuff,
Yeah.
right? But the thing is that we are all in control of our own destiny.
Right.
All healing is self-healing. And so our people, the person is going to choose what they feel is most right for them based on the consciousness that they have.
Right.
And that consciousness is definitely being fed by the morphogenic fields of our cultures. My dad's older than me, so his model and conception of what healing and medicine looks like
Yes.
looks different than mine. So and this was really hard. I mean, I sent them a notebook in the mail with some options to consider. My mom took that notebook and put it in the back room
Yeah.
because, of course, she did.
Yeah.
That is like she's overwhelmed doing her own process. That was a boundary crossing of mine.
Hmm.
Well intended,
Right.
certainly, but, as well as we can, honor what is and the choices that people are making, because we can't tell somebody what to do.
Hmm.
We have no right to be there. What I ended up saying was, I have some other ideas just based on what I know, and if you'd ever like some of those ideas, just let me know. I'm happy to share them.
Yeah.
And it was just like, here you go. And then I was able to really let my own soul self still, because it was like, Amelia, you offered, and they can pick it up, run with it, throw it in the trash. But this is honoring their self-empowerment and them being in control of their own journey.
Yes.
And my consciousness is it's just different. There is no hierarchy in consciousness.
Yes.
It's not a better or worse. We are vibrations matching vibrations. So what's good for me is vibrates at what's good for me, and what's good for him vibrates at that level. So
Right.
it's honoring that, offering. I have ideas, take them or don't. You know where to find me. It's the offering. And then it's remembering too, I'm not doing anything anyway. It's
Mhm.
spirit. So I pray in the ways that I pray, that says, please take care of this person that I love. Please, thank you. Please help them find the information that's going to best support their highest and best. Um, and then sometimes if I need to feel like I've just got to do a little something, I'll ask my spirit to contact their spirit and tell them that I love them.
That is beautiful, Amelia. I have to say, I love again the emphasis on the non attachment because, again, I think a lot of people struggle with that. But it is very humbling to also really accept that we don't necessarily know what is best for another person, especially in relation to what their soul agreements and contracts and lessons and all the layers of what their uniqueness may be. And so I hope that, you explained it so beautifully. I hope that that brings some peace to some people that may be struggling with that. I have to ask you another question. I'm looking at the time, like, oh my gosh, the time went by so fast. But I just want to tell you really quickly. I recently just heard another person who works in this realm. I think he's a channeler. I don't know that he does energy work for other people outside of the messaging. So it's more like oracular kind of,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
healing through transmission. But anyway, he was talking about how he believes in this and he was dealing with some kind of ailment and he was trying everything, the alternative kind of healing
Mm-hmm.
methods, and nothing was working. And then he tuned into himself and was like, why is nothing happening? And essentially, he got this message of go to the doctor. But the interesting thing was that part of the reason was what this illness or what it was connected to was something passed down through his lineage. And so
Yeah.
there was still a lot of connection, energetically speaking, or even the consciousness of this illness that had the beliefs of the
Yeah.
person that it came from. And so that person didn't believe in this work. And so it was a very interesting thing that
Mm-hmm.
also the consciousness around what needed to be healed came into play around the healing. Anyway,
So cool.
yeah, I had to tell you that, but I
Yeah.
know we're almost out of time. So I want to ask you this, the pre and post op.
Sure.
So when you connect with someone initially and you're getting to know them and reading their space and having an understanding of their makeup, we'll say, at that moment. And then you do some shifting, and then maybe they have the actual surgery. Now, on the other side, are you tuning in to then see the reconstruction or the repatterning? And are you having then conversation about that, like how to perhaps sustain or work with what may be different for them?
Cool. I love that question. So, to answer it well, we need to back up to surgery proper
Okay.
because I track every single minute of that surgery.
Yeah.
So, every cut, every removal, every, peeling back tissue from the muscle, I'm already having that conversation with the body.
Hmm.
You're changing, releasing. So by the end of the surgery, the body and the soul have been so fully integrated in the conversation of healing that's happened. The individual wakes up and there's a sense of like, I already know I'm okay.
Hmm.
So most of the time, that is where we start post surgical and recovery healing.
Right.
So we'll go in and we will do things like Well, the first thing is there's a whole period of getting the anesthetics and the medicines out of the field to help you wake up, managing nausea, managing pain, really doing like suture healing work and cleaning up the auric field to make sure there's no tears or rifts or anything. And then, depending on how somebody works with me, I sort of do a buffet, like what feels best for you. I will work with them, through that recovery period around medication management and pain and just help like be a consultant just to help advise. It's like some people have never worked with an opioid before.
Hmm.
So that's tough. I'm not a nurse, but at least I can help them ask the nurse the right questions,
Right.
right? But there's always a point in that recovery where we do a hara based healing, which is a soul based healing, which reintegrates any new parts into the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so recently, a surgery I did the person was in Vail. I live in North Carolina. And this was a surgery where there was an ancestral component. She was breaking a mother line. She was like, I'm no longer willing to walk this pattern in this knee, not doing it. This surgery is a huge, you know, I'm no longer doing this.
Yes.
So part of our work together post-op was to ensure that river of ancestry was also completed in the process.
Yes.
So there's a lot we can do just depending on our contract and really the person's contract with their own soul story.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that people are clear on two things before we go. One, um, do you work with people who also aren't necessarily going into surgery, but just dealing with whatever other layer or level of imbalance? And then also, even if for whatever reason, if you couldn't go into the operating room, are you still doing this the sequence of work just within like the quantum field for the
Yeah.
people that you work with
Oh,
during your
yeah.
surgeries even?
So just to stick with the surgery, absolutely. So,
Yes.
and I actually prefer the surgery I did on Tuesday. I actually it was here locally.
Hmm.
I left the hospital, I went to my car, and I sat under a tree in the parking lot
Yeah.
because I wanted to keep my focus on something grounded. And I love nature. And why be in a germy hospital? I'm
Right.
only 2 football fields away.
Yeah.
I'm sitting under a tree following the surgery. I know they're closing the first part. I walk in, meet the surgeon right there, and she gives me the update.
Yes.
Like, you are with them every minute. It is so incredible.
Right.
And so it's all done remotely. So it
Yes.
doesn't matter. I do it here in North Carolina. I have had people fly me to their hospital because they want to see me in PACU, which is after anesthesia. They want me there in pre-op to hold their feet. So it really just depends on what people are most needing to
Yes.
feel secure and safe and held and know they're going to be supported all the way through. And there's a cool session we do pre-op to help us link up at the soul level. So I've got a system for that and I
Yeah.
teach the person. So it's just cool. That's all. It's just fun. But yes, to the other question, I do help people just between, it's not just surgical work.
Right.
I work with kind of, patterns that keep coming back. God, I married my dad. Like
Yeah.
this, whatever that is, or my mom, like, oh, this boss is the same as that boss. I'm bumping into this pattern. I'm really good at patterns.
Yes.
So I definitely help people, but in not just in surgery.
Yes. Oh, let me tell you, I am so thankful because you never know. Like every time when I'm going to interview someone, especially if we've never met before, you just never know like how the conversation is going to go or, going deeper into your work. So just so people know, of course, I get, the background and the bio and, written form about you, but it's so much different when we get to deep dive and, have the conversation. And this has just been incredible. And I'm sure it is inspiring people in so many ways and having all these light bulbs go off and questions coming up. So could you please tell everyone how it is we can connect with you, your website, your social media, how they can learn more about you and your work? And I can imagine there are people wondering too, do you teach as well? Or are
Yeah.
you just working as a practitioner?
So I do teach. That's actually my bread and butter.
Yeah.
I love teaching.
Yes.
So there's a bunch of ways you can get me. AmeliaVogler.com is just sort of website carte blanche, whatever. Energy medicine in surgery.com is obviously surgical work. VoglerInstitute.com is where you'll find my classes. Amelia Vogler Amelia Vogler underscore healing is Instagram.
Okay. So I will make sure that we have the links to all of this down in the show description.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, if anyone's driving and like, oh no, what is she? It'll
Those were
be,
long.
yes,
Yes.
a lot of ways to connect with her. I will make sure all of the contact information is below. And since you do teach, I mean, I just want to check in as well. Do you have anything upcoming, or do you tend to, is it like one on one or group training? How does that work?
Oh gosh, I have a massive course coming out. It's for practitioners, but there are some prerequisites
Yeah.
to it. It's in the Hara system. That's kind of my that is the system that I work in the most easily. And um, I use Barbara Brennan's system. I
Mhm.
don't know if for people who are listening. So that's the anatomy. But I have come to understand that there's some additional nodes, that there's ways to work with inheritances. So you will find right now there's some on-demand classes, ancestral healing. Um, there's all sorts of stuff. There's a really cool one called From a Star to a Body.
Mm.
It's the course that tells you how you got here, and it lays down all of the anatomies of the energy systems. And I also am very mindful. It's very affordable, so I'm not somebody that's. I really, really try to create accessible programming.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's incredible. I'm sure they're all excited hearing all of this. And it's great that you have so many options. And it is always nice when we have some on demand, some we can come, all of the different things, especially with all the different time zones and such. Believe me,
totally.
all these years, I get it. So yes, everyone, learn more about Amelia and her beautiful work. All of the contact information is below, and it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. This has been great.
Yes, and we'll see you all soon. Bye for now. Okay, beautiful alchemist. I want to thank Amelia again for coming to have this incredible conversation with us today. Don't forget, you can learn more about her work at ameliavogler.com. And for other ways to connect with her, be sure to check the show notes and follow her on social media as well. And speaking of social media, be sure to follow me at Reiki Radio on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook at T Reiki. That's TEA Reiki. And follow Reiki Radio on YouTube. Really appreciate it. Just as a reminder, again, be sure to check out the ReikiClass.com and follow the new podcast platform, Awakening Airwaves. We really appreciate your support. There is so much time and effort going in to all of the beautiful contributions that these teachers and practitioners are coming together to share, because we all have this desire and joy, and are so thankful to be able to share whatever has been supporting us on our paths as well. So the ReikiClass.com, you can learn more, and be sure to follow all of the platforms on YouTube and Instagram as well. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed the show today. I will see you all very, very soon. Sign up for my newsletter at theenergeticalchemist.com so you can get the code to get a discount on the upcoming Oracle School as well as the Oracle card deck. But most importantly, I hope that you will join me this weekend for the free Oracle class called the Oracle Codex. There is one last thing I wanted to tell you. There is this incredible company called Otter Spirit, and they create these beautiful crystal beaded bracelets, you know, the crystal bracelets that a lot of us wear. And they reached out to me and they asked if I would give them some recommendations about what kind of stones would really support us in the different levels of Reiki. So they have curated these stacks of bracelets with us in mind. So they created a stack for Reiki level 1, level 2, and a level 3. Of course, you can use or wear any of them that you like. You can even go to their site and get any of the crystal bracelets that call to you personally. But there is a beautiful stack for each level. And right now, if you're watching the video, I'm showing you one of the bracelets is turquoise and they come in different sizes. So what I loved about the company is one, part of the proceeds go to helping the wild otters here in California, but also the beads come in different sizes. So you can get the normal, larger kind of crystal beads, or you can get the smaller, which I prefer. But the bracelets themselves come in different sizes. So there are small, medium, and large for the different sizes of our wrist, which is also great because prior to this, it was hard for me to find these beautiful bracelets that would fit. So Otter Spirit is the company, but you want to use the link down in the show description. It is my affiliate link, and there is a discount that you get for using that link. But also, you can use the code Yolanda20, just as one word, Yolanda, and then 20 for 20% off as well. And I will include the links to the various Reiki bracelet stacks that have been curated for us practitioners. So that is it, my loves. I am so thankful again for you being here. Remember to always journey in love.